Am I so wrong for staying up late, going out with my friends, for drinking too much and saying I won't, but then do it again? When you take my hand, I realize I can be who I am. Cause I'll be alright as long as I'm leaving with you. I came with the hard times, but you brought the good times. You made my life.
We're going to be journalizing our thoughts on each special topic covered this semester, including Indigenous sport, parasport, and game day operations. For each one, we're going to go through our initial thoughts, what we thought about each topic and what we want to learn more about, as well as finally how each topic relates to us in the future in our careers.
I found my way, you're only gonna love me, you're never gonna judge me. Now I'm climbing.
So our initial thoughts were that we really had no idea what to expect going into this topic. None of us had been aware or really in touch with any kind of Indigenous sport, so almost everything was new to us. None of us had any sort of experience with Indigenous sport either until we went through our first experience.
Higher every day, I'm keeping my head up.
For critical thinking, we didn't find any of the topics challenging to understand. However, we do still have questions related to what learning institutions are doing to making people aware of Indigenous athletes in sport. Their history plays a big role in Canadian sports history in general. So we would like to find out more about how schools make sure that youth are aware of the sport and impact. Also, in terms of what we want to learn more about, we'd like to know more about the government's role in making sure that the relationship with Indigenous people is repaired and strong going forward. We'd like to know exactly what the government will be doing to achieve this and how these incentives will go towards repairing one fragile relationship.
As a person who wants to work in recreation, based on what I've learned about Indigenous sport, I know that I can play a major role in ensuring that Indigenous youth of tomorrow have a place to play. I know that I'm responsible for making sure that sport is taken to Indigenous people and youth, but also ensuring that people are more aware of different types of Indigenous sports, such as the stick pole. Like we said before, one of the key things that we took away from this topic was the importance of Indigenous sport on our history. And as someone who wants to work in recreation, I can play a role in making sure that people are more aware about this.
I'm keeping my head up.
Initial thoughts were that this topic was extremely eye-opening. We also definitely realized that parasport athletes are extremely underappreciated in Canada's sports system. There's a large amount of highly successful parasport athletes that we had never heard about until covering this topic, which in our eyes is extremely wrong. What surprised us the most was the parasport classifications. For example, in wheelchair basketball, Class 1 is someone that has drastic impairment, and Class 4 is someone with the least amount of impairments. Each team can only have a combined amount of 14 points for the impairments. It was difficult to wrap our heads around how hard it really is to play parasport games. Having completed the experience, we got to try various activities such as wheelchair basketball and sledge hockey, and we developed a new appreciation for the athletes that play these sports and their athletic ability. Watching these sports on video or on TV does not do them justice.
I'm keeping my head up, head up.
For critical thinking, we didn't find any topics challenging to understand. However, we do still have questions related to the cost of equipment. We understand that the sports they play are specialized, but we believe that based on the inspiration that these athletes provide, the companies that make the equipment should sacrifice part of their margin so that these athletes can continue to impact others. Also, in terms of what we want to learn more about, we want to learn more about how the para games are ran and operated. Because of the specialized nature of these games, we assume that there is much planning and other considerations that must go into these games, and we'd like to learn more about these specific considerations.
As a person who wants to work in recreation, based on what I've learned about parasport, I know that I can play a major role in ensuring that youth who may suffer from some sort of physical disability may have a place to play and practice their sport. I can ensure that I'm responsible for making sure that sport is accessible and that there are programs offered in the community to support this group in chasing their dreams, but also I can make sure that people are more aware of parasport in order to raise awareness and make parasport more popular. One One of the key learnings to take away from this topic is just how amazing parasport athletes can be. And in my future, I want to make sure that I can raise awareness and give this group the recognition that they deserve. So our initial thoughts on game day operations were that game day operations were very simplistic and covered only a few different areas in terms of making sport events enjoyable for consumers. However, we came to learn very quickly that we were wrong. What surprised us the most about game day operations was learning about the importance of mascots in making sure that game day operations are successful and enjoyable for the consumers, whether that's through various activations or giveaways that the mascots are a part of, or it could be through like taunting opposing fans on the Jumbotron in the arena. It was difficult to wrap our heads around the idea that the director of game day operations for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Taylor Dean, has to have her videos approved by Brendan Shanahan. We didn't think that the president of the team was involved in these kind of decisions because of the busy schedule that they may have unrelated to game day operations, but this was definitely something that was unexpected and difficult to take in.
How many times have I said I would quit?
In terms of critical thinking, we didn't find any of the topics challenging to understand. However, we do still have questions related to the kind of programming that they use to create immediate promotions for game day visuals. We believe that this is a large component in making game day enjoyable for the fans, but we never get to learn about how these videos are created. In terms of what we want to learn more about, like we said, we'd like to learn more about creating game day videos in order to entice fans, how our clips are chosen, what is allowed, and what isn't allowed, etc.
Every night, you light me up like my last cigarette. With you by my side, I don't really care what the name.
As a person who wants to work in marketing, based on what I've learned about game day ops, I've learned about the importance of knowing your demographic. I can ensure that based on the sport that I'm working in, demographic will play a large role. For example, if I'm working game day ops for a golf tournament, I know that blasting music during play is probably not going to go over well with the crowd watching or the athletes. Like we said before, we believe one of the key things to take away from this topic is the importance of analytics and demographics. Knowing these stats, based on the field that you work in, will play a role in determining how successful you will be.
'Cause I'll be alright, as long as I'm leaving with you. I came with the hard times, but you brought the good.
In conclusion, we believe that there's much to take away from each of these topics. In Indigenous sport, we believe it's important to recognize the history of these athletes.
In parasport, it's important to recognize these athletes' accomplishments and inspire the parasport athletes of tomorrow.
And lastly, in game day operations, it's important to know your demographic to put on a successful game day for consumers. Overall, this course was eye-opening in many ways, and the lessons learned will be ones that we remember forever.